mean, that's one of the things that this dark carnival does is come to town, and it forces people to confront their secret desires, their secret regrets, and exploits them.
And I can make you young again. Let's say 30. Going. It's gone.
Eric.
Hey, Tig.
You just watched the 1983 Disney film, Something Wicked This Way Comes, starring Jonathan Pryce and Jason Robards and Pam Grier.
I loved looking at the cast list and seeing like, oh shit, that was Pam Grier.
You not only are a huge fan of Ray Bradbury, which this is based on one of his books right there, but used to read it to your son, right?
Yes, I've not only read Something Wicked This Way Comes 2 or 3 times myself for pleasure, but I also read it out loud to my son when he was growing up. He absolutely loved it. He became a Ray Bradbury fan as a result as well. And he was, not unexpectedly, very creeped out by certain portions of the book. So when you gave this to me, I was legitimately delighted. Something Wicked This Way Comes begins as a very typical sort of coming of age story in small town America. Just as we're entering the autumn season, spot a train coming into town, and it is this mysterious carnival that just sort of appeared without any forewarning. But the carnival is not all that it seems, and the 2 young boys come to realize that the carnival is here for sinister purposes. It's very purposely set in autumn, and it's not set in autumn just for the Halloween theme. It's set in autumn because you think of you think of autumn as sort of the autumn of your life. It's when you're past that growing up of spring and you're past the wonderment of summer. Now autumn is when you're moving on. Things are changing, things are decaying. So the season is very much a part of the themes that he's working with here in the story and in the film as well.
Which is why I think the first line in the movie, I guess, is from the book, right? You want to read it for us? Let's see if it's...
First of all, it was October.
A rare month for boys. Full of cold winds, long nights, dark promises.
The opening of the film, to my great delight, is pulled almost verbatim from the book. It's chopped up a bit. I mean, there's parts that are taken out, but the language and the lines are straight out of Bradbury's work. Right from the very start, I kind of felt like, boy, even if this doesn't turn out to be a good movie, it looks like it's going to be a very faithful adaptation, at the very least faithful to the spirit of Bradbury's work.
So what did you think about how they pulled it all off?
As an adaptation, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it captured the spirit of Bradbury's work. This film resonated with me in a much different way than it would have as a kid, because obviously I saw this film more so through the father's eyes.
Now, young Jim Nightshade, what can I find you? Something from the Arabian Nights now, full of magicians and monsters.
Something about headhunters. Well, they're my father's friends right now.
Or at the very least, I had an easier time relating to where he was in life as opposed to where the kids were in life for obvious reasons. The anchor for the movie were the 2 child actors who were unfortunately pretty terrible.
He's just a bit old. That's all. Doesn't mean he's afraid. Doesn't it?
And in all fairness, I mean, this is the case with most kid actors. It is really, really rare to get a child actor who can carry a film. So, I mean, I can't slam them for that.
I must get home. My little nephew is arriving.
Must be a shock, though, staring in all those mirrors. Especially if you have a face like that.
Otherwise, the film's beautifully made. Right from the start, there's 2 fantastic tracking shots that I just absolutely loved. The one with them sort of chasing the cameras, they're hopping over bushes, they're going through front yards, really well done. And then another that just sort of tracks them as they're running through downtown. That kind of idealistic little setting never actually really existed. The reality of it was much uglier than what we usually see.
The movie's kind of about that, how like the people working there and living there, it seems like this great place, but really they're all just carrying all this like baggage, sort of a peek into what you're talking about where it wasn't all peaches and cream.
Do you know what you need, Mr. Holloway? Rossetti's Color Restorer. Make you feel years younger.
I wish it were that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that this dark carnival does is come to town, and it forces people to confront their secret desires, their secret regrets, and exploits them.
Tell you, I wish I was out there to run, to throw, and tackle.
What I find interesting, the carnival has shown up multiple times in this town. So is it specifically this town, or is it the kind of thing where you're supposed to assume they show up in like a bunch of different towns?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I think the implication is that this is a mysterious traveling dark carnival. It's not specific to this town. I mentioned fairy tales earlier, and it's very much in that vein. I mean, these are the dark spirits of the wildlands between towns.
My favorite character, and I'm assuming that your favorite character, the ringleader of it all, Mr. Dark.
Introductions all around. My name is Mr. Dark. I advise you to respect it.
Oh yeah, he was just terrific. He felt sinister and evil and dark, but not like a mustache twirling cliche. It was great.
He was real scary to me as a kid. He's still one of my top scariest villains. The scene where he does the book when he's in the library with the dad and he's like ripping the pages out.
And I can make you young again. Let's say 30. Going. It's gone.
One thing that really struck me was how much differently that scene hit me as opposed to how it must have when you were a kid, because the stuff that he was saying to the dad, of course, just rang so true.
Like 41, 42.
43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. You're lost!
I could feel myself just like getting older as I'm like, listening.
Oh yeah. Like I said, everything that he was saying just was on point.
35, a year when you could run up the stairs without panting for breath. 35, gone.
Both him and Pam Grier stole every scene that they were in. Even just the parade, when the staged parade, when they're looking for the kids, what a beautifully sinister way to go about searching for the kids. And that is, of course, that's right out of the book.
The lightning rod man, who basically shows up in the town ahead of them. So you already know that like there's something going on. Like this guy's the good guy who's there to help warn the town.
So buy one of these lightning rods, good people. Some folks need special protection.
Yeah, he's effectively there as I guess you could say, you know, part of a prophecy, the prophecy behind this carnival and how it will be extinguished, you know, this cycle, because it seems to be the implication is that this is an ongoing cycle with this carnival arriving and disappearing and arriving and disappearing. And
Jim buys the lightning rod and puts it on his house. So then later on, when Pam Grier's character sends, you know, the mist to chase the kids down, and then there's that spider, the tarantula scene, which I'm sure you enjoyed.
Oh, yeah, very creepy.
The lightning hits the rod, and then the dream like ends, so there's no more spiders.
Right. How much more effective these special effects are here because they're so primitive, as opposed to what would be done today. And this isn't a knock on modern special effects. I love modern special effects, but there's a level of unreality in the kind of practical way they had to do it then that makes the magic effects seem more ghostly, more otherworldly, and as a result, more frightening.
The ending with the tornado scene, with everything getting sucked up, I was like, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I think one of the scenes that stood out to me was in the beginning, and you see her, and there's sort of a shimmering effect. The nature of the effects of those days, you know, it doesn't feel real; it feels otherworldly. Boy, that works so well for this movie in particular, because this story is about that unsettling feeling of something otherworldly, something that you can't quite understand, something that doesn't quite fit in the world that you know. If it wasn't for the child acting, I think this would have been just absolutely masterful. I mean, even the child acting wasn't enough to make me dislike the movie. I really enjoyed this a lot.
It almost seems like one of those movies that Disney doesn't like share because it's too dark.
It's definitely dark as far as mood and tone and atmosphere, surprisingly dark. It also, though, had 2 bits of gore that I was really kind of surprised to see. I think one was a beheading or a severed head.
When Mr. Dark gets stuck on the carousel and it starts to eat him in a circle, and then the little guy picks up his like bone body and just kind of.
And then there's another one, and now I can't remember exactly what it is.
I know what it is. It's when Mr. Dark splits Jason Robards' hand.
Yes, that's right. Yes, he's clenching his hand tight, and he's holding it so tight he clenches it, and it opens up, and I was like, ooh, that's awful.
I remember when I was a kid, and always squeezing my own hand and being like, oh yeah, I guess if you squeeze real hard there, like somebody thought of that. Somebody on set was like, hey, he should reach up and go to grab Mr. Dark's hand, and if you squeeze his hand real hard, it would explode in between. It's like so gross.
Yeah, that was horrifying.
And I just want to say my wife was most creeped out, not by Mr. Dark, but by the scary ginger child, Mr. Cougar.
Hey, you wicked hooligan!
And we know that kid had no soul. I definitely want to hear from people in the comments about this movie in particular, and most especially about Ray Bradbury's work, what you love, what you don't love, and other Ray Bradbury adaptations. I know that there is, I think by the BBC, an adaptation of the Martian Chronicles that I've never been able to bring myself to watch. I don't think the Martian Chronicles is filmable.
That sounds good. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. When we were wrapping up last week's episode, Tig let drop that despite the fact that he's a huge Spielberg fan, he has never seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. My jaw immediately dropped. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is and has been for over 30 years in my top 5 favorite films of all time. That's your assignment next, is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, dude. You have to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Holy shit.
I'm excited to see it finally for the first time. Obviously, everybody in the world has seen it except for me. And here's the good thing. I really don't know much about it at all. All I know is aliens and mashed potatoes.
I can't wait.
Oh my God. That's Eric. I'm Tig. Thanks for hanging out at the movie club.